think about this. When I'm not with you, I am by myself. I don't talk. I don't speak. I'm by myself.
So cute. I love you.
But it's the truth.
I love you so much.
You know how much I've been missing my mother? Like,
Really?
I want to see her so bad.
I know, Baba.
I wish she
know,
was
Baba.
here. I would hang out with her all the time.
I know, Baba. I know. We're going to fix
And
it
then
up
it'd be fine. Like,
as soon as...
Today, we'll be diving into the story of a young woman named Lisa Harnum, the fiancé of a control freak who turned a luxurious apartment into a prison. Lisa believed that she had met the love of her life, but little did she know about what was coming her way. Controlling behavior is common in couple relationships, and this can be quite dangerous. The tricky part, however, is that people often get blinded by love, allowing them to be manipulated easily. It becomes clear when someone tries to control and change their partner to suit their own needs using intimidation, power, and demeaning actions. Often the victim, burdened by fear and guilt, doesn't realize they are stuck in a damaging situation. Lisa Cecilia Harnum's story highlights the dangers of being in a relationship with a controlling partner. She innocently thought she had found her true love, but failed to see how her fiancé gradually became a tyrant, turning their luxurious home into a prison with constant surveillance. This case drew international attention and was extensively reported in the media. Tragically, Lisa was portrayed as mentally unstable, and her calculated murder was framed as either an accident or a willing end to her life. However, justice was served in the end. Now let's delve into how her once loving fiancé became Lisa's worst nightmare, masking his sinister intentions behind a facade of affection. Lisa Cecilia Harnum was born on June 12, 1981, on the outskirts of Toronto, Canada. She was the second child in her family growing up alongside her older brother Jason, and the two shared a strong bond. Their mother Joanna raised them on her own, as their father had left when they were very young and had no further involvement in their lives. Lisa Cecilia grew up as an active and purposeful girl. From an early age, she was involved in sports, attending martial arts classes with her brother, and playing soccer and volleyball. However, her main passion was always ballet. She visited the dance studio daily, practicing for several hours. Although she was tall and slender from childhood, professional ballet classes required the strictest diet, which had a detrimental effect on her growing body. During her teenage years, Lisa struggled with anorexia as a result of her eating disorders. She kept her condition hidden for a long time, convinced she could manage it by herself. However, as her weight dropped to dangerously low levels, her mother intervened, seeking medical help. Lisa spent several months in a clinic to regain her health and rebuild her strength, but the experience also took a toll on her confidence. After finishing school, Lisa kept up with her dance classes and chose to build a career in the beauty industry. While attending university, she secured a position as a perfumer at a major cosmetics chain. In her free time, she devoted herself to learning the intricacies of makeup and hairdressing. In 2005, right after celebrating her 24th birthday, Lisa decided to make significant changes to her lifestyle. She planned to relocate to Australia, and she had her reasons to do so. First, she was seeking a warmer and gentler climate. Second, Lisa was eager to travel and experience different parts of the world. She secured a one-year work visa and embarked on a journey to this new continent, with her mother Joanna by her side. Joanna stayed with her for the initial months to help her settle comfortably. Once assured that Lisa was well-adjusted, her mother returned to Toronto, confident that Lisa was capable of living independently. Lisa made her home in Sydney, where she found a charming apartment and quickly secured employment at a local cosmetology firm. When her visa neared expiration, she decided to stay in Australia on a long-term basis. In terms of her personal life, Lisa faced quite a few challenges. She tended to date older men, probably influenced by the lack of a father figure in her life, seeking support and protection from more mature partners. In 2006, Lisa landed a job at a cosmetics company in Sydney. Shortly after starting there, she entered into a romantic relationship with one of her co-workers who was almost twice her age. After being together for several months, they decided to move in together, and Lisa moved into her lover's apartment. A few months later, she introduced him to her mother and brother, who both supported her choice. Together, they traveled extensively, enjoying vacations in the Seychelles, Paris, and even experiencing the renowned Carnival in Rio de Janeiro. Eventually, her partner proposed to Lisa, and she happily accepted. However, roughly a year after their engagement, the relationship ended. Lisa didn't disclose many details about the breakup, but suggested that the significant age gap was a major factor. In 2010, Lisa completed her studies at the Sydney College of Stylists and secured a position as a hairdresser in a well-regarded beauty salon. She rapidly earned the respect of her peers and the loyalty of her clients. Around this time, she started dating a new man, but their relationship ended swiftly when Lisa discovered he was married. Unwilling to disrupt another family, she promptly ended the affair. However, just before their breakup, at a social gathering, he introduced her to a businessman named Simon Gittany. Making Lisa cross roads with Simon was nature's worst mistake. Simon was born in Maryland in December 1973 into a deeply religious and large family of Lebanese immigrants. He was one of 6 children, raised with strict discipline and obedience by his parents. From an early age, Simon struggled with controlling his emotions and had frequent outbursts of anger. He was also possessive, had a hard time handling rejection, and was quick to resort to violence. These issues eventually led to significant legal troubles. Simon's first encounter with the law occurred at 18, when he confronted his ex-girlfriend at her workplace and began to molest her openly. The store owner stepped in to defend the girl and kicked Simon out of the premises. However, Simon returned with friends who restrained the owner while Simon assaulted him severely. For this offense, Simon was detained but served only a few months, released early on bail due to good behavior. 3 years later, he faced arrest again, this time for theft. During his arrest, Simon violently resisted, even biting off a policeman's earlobe, facing a severe prison term for these actions. Intervention came from the pastor of the Lebanese Christian church, to which his family belonged. Consequently, Simon was sentenced to only a year and a half in prison. In 2000, Simon once more attracted police attention and was arrested for possessing and distributing illegal substances. Despite receiving a 4-year sentence, he served only half of it thanks to his leniency. Upon his release, Simon appeared to be a changed man. He relocated to Sydney and, along with a few associates, started a successful business selling high-end women's footwear. This venture secured him a steady and substantial income, opening doors to a lot of wealth, including luxury properties in prestigious areas and high-end vehicles. Simon meticulously concealed his criminal history from everyone, including his roommates and romantic partners. Coming back to that party, Simon and Lisa swapped phone numbers, and he reached out to her soon after. Their casual chats gradually evolved into a friendly relationship. In January 2010, when Lisa expressed dissatisfaction with her living situation and her desire to find a new apartment, Simon graciously invited her to stay for free in a spare room of his luxurious apartment while she searched for a place. Lisa took up his offer, despite some concerns from her mother about the sudden arrangement. However, Lisa reassured Joanna that the arrangement was only temporary and that she and Simon were merely friends. For the first few months, Simon maintained a respectful distance. They lived in separate rooms, and there was no sign of any romantic or intimate connection. Over time, however, they grew closer and developed a connection that soon blossomed into a full-fledged romance that rapidly intensified. At the start of their relationship, Simon was 37 and Lisa was 28. To Lisa, Simon was like a prince from a fairy tale. He was outgoing and joyful, and lavished her with gifts and surprises. The couple was often seen together, especially at an elite sports club that Simon had frequented for years. Lisa believed she had found her true love and envisioned a long, happy future with him. She enthusiastically shared her joy with her mother, brother, and friends, unaware that the fairy tale would soon take an unexpected turn. Only 6 months into their relationship, Simon's behavior started to shift subtly and gradually, in such a way that Lisa didn't initially recognize the changes. Believing that her lover's actions were for her benefit, she failed to see his true intentions. Simon slowly isolated Lisa from her friends and family, began eroding her boundaries, and attempted to mold her views, preferences, and behaviors to align with his desires. In June 2010, right after Lisa celebrated her 29th birthday, Simon persistently started urging her to leave her job, arguing that she was underappreciated and could secure a higher-paying position elsewhere. Lisa, however, cherished her role at the beauty salon where she had loyal clients and was satisfied with her earnings, so she saw no reason to resign and declined to do so. Dissatisfied with her decision, Simon escalated the situation by causing a disruptive scene at her workplace in August of that same year, which pressured Lisa into writing a resignation letter. Lisa was taken aback by his actions, but Simon reassured her, claiming that everything would be better and that she didn't need to work anymore since his earnings were sufficient to support them both comfortably. A month and a half later, the couple relocated to a new luxury apartment on the 15th floor of a prestigious residential complex. What Lisa didn't know was that the apartment was filled with hidden surveillance cameras. Simon gifted Lisa an expensive smartphone and laptop, both equipped with spyware that enabled him to track all her messages, emails, listen to her calls, and follow her movements. He also gained access to her social media accounts, where he began to subtly remove friends, delete posts, and read her personal messages. Day by day, Simon's control over Lisa intensified, yet he skillfully made it seem as though she was following his directions willingly. He was a master manipulator, and as his younger demons started emerging again, he had thoroughly infiltrated every part of her life, effectively eliminating her privacy. Simon prohibited Lisa from wearing makeup, arguing that colorful cosmetics gave her a vulgar appearance. He also purchased basic and unattractive clothing for her in the shades of gray and black, discarding her existing wardrobe on the grounds that it was too provocative and would draw unwanted attention from men. Lisa only went out of the apartment with Simon, and they frequented only the places he selected. Simon also barred her from going to the gym. Instead, he acquired several high-end exercise machines so she could work out at home. Gradually, Lisa's list of social media friends shrank, and eventually Simon persuaded her to shut down her accounts entirely. She was left with no friends in her real life, as all her interactions and communications were strictly supervised. Simon restricted her communications to only her mother and brother. Keep in mind that throughout this period, Lisa, although slightly unsettled, was generally accepting of the situation and willingly agreed to Simon's demands. This agreement highlights the extent of Simon's manipulation. In December 2010, Lisa went to Canada to celebrate Christmas with her family. Simon intended to join her, but last-minute urgent business issues prevented him. He didn't want her to go alone, but Lisa really wanted to see her mom and brother since it had been over a year. He finally agreed, but made strict rules that Lisa had to follow carefully. When she arrived, Jason and Joanna were shocked by how much Lisa had changed over the last year. She was no longer the bright and happy person she used to be. She seemed like just a shadow of her former self. Her face was bare without makeup, her beautiful hair tied back in a ponytail and covered with a headpiece, and her clothes were loose, plain, and all black. Yet it was not just her appearance that was alarming. Lisa would startle and quickly pick up the phone every time it rang, adhering to one of Simon's strict rules. She had to answer immediately, no matter the time or what she was doing. Lisa spent all her time at her mother's house, avoided meeting her friends, and rarely went outside. Joanna was deeply concerned and scared by the changes in her daughter and decided it was time for a serious conversation. Then Lisa broke down in tears and confessed that Simon constantly tracked her location, who she spoke to, and the details of her conversations. She also disclosed that Simon restricted her from working, meeting friends, going to the gym, or pursuing any hobbies. She essentially had no friends left. Her mother was stunned and urged Lisa to stay in Canada, arguing that there was nothing left for her in Australia. However, Lisa expressed her love for Simon and her reluctance to end the relationship. She believed that their current struggles were just a temporary phase because they had been together for less than a year and expected that Simon would soon relax his control. She insisted that, despite everything, Simon truly cared for her and has her best interest at heart. Despite pleas from her family to stay and attempts to convince her that the relationship was unhealthy, she decided to move back to Australia to stay with Simon. Lisa reassured her mother, saying that there was nothing to worry about and that Simon loved her and would not hurt her. After Lisa returned, the situation only got worse. Simon forbade her to leave the apartment, and if they went out together, she had to look only at her feet so as not to meet the eyes of other men. Moreover, Simon began to call Lisa by her second name, Cecilia, because it seemed more decent to him. In the spring of 2011, Lisa began to complain of pain in her leg. It was an old injury received in her youth during ballet classes, but instead of taking her to the hospital, Gittany hired a female physical therapist who came to their home 3 times a week to give her massages. She soon became Lisa's only friend and confidant, to whom Lisa spoke candidly about the difficult situation she found herself in. On June 12th, for Lisa's 30th birthday, Simon decided to throw a party at the most expensive restaurant in Sydney, but among the guests were only Simon's relatives and people from his inner circle. Lisa, on her own birthday, was not allowed to invite anyone. At the end of the evening, Simon proposed to Lisa by putting a ring on her finger. Harnum responded with consent and then cried, but all present noticed that these were not tears of joy, but rather tears of despair and hopelessness. Back home, Lisa called her mother and informed her of her engagement, sobbing into the phone, but Joanna was not at all happy about it. She began to persuade her daughter to leave this man and as soon as possible to return home to Canada. In response, Lisa only asked her mother never to start such conversations on the phone. At that moment, she already realized that her fiancé was listening to the calls. Although she did not know for sure, Lisa tried to distract herself with thoughts of the upcoming wedding and began planning the festivities. When she decided to consult with Simon about something related to the event, he rudely cut her off and told her that he would choose the place, buy her address, and make the guest list. Lisa was utterly crushed, for she had no say even here. During a session with the physiotherapist, Lisa confessed that she couldn't continue living like this, and that she felt trapped because her fiancé wouldn't allow her to leave. The physiotherapist and Lisa devised a strategy where Lisa would discreetly pass some of her belongings to the physiotherapist for safekeeping during each visit, ensuring Simon remained unaware. On July 28th, in a rush, Simon forgot his laptop at home, which he usually took everywhere. Seizing the opportunity, Lisa accessed it and confirmed her worst suspicions. She discovered a spyware program that Simon used to gather all the data from her phone, including many recordings of her conversations with her mother. Even more chilling was finding surveillance footage from cameras hidden throughout their apartment. That same day, Lisa, using her physical therapist's phone, called her mother and asked her to come on the next flight to her apartment and take her home. However, Joanna could not leave work so quickly. She needed time to ask for an excuse to switch shifts with one of her colleagues. In hindsight, Joanna could never forgive herself for this delay. Back home, Simon immediately realized that his fiancée had taken his laptop and seen the spyware. Lisa was sobbing, trying to figure out why she deserved to be treated that way, but Simon only pointed out that he'd done it for her own good. The next day, July 29th, a serious conversation took place between the young people. Lisa decided to secretly record this conversation for her sanity.
All I'm saying is that I have nothing else to do in my life other than you. That's it. If I had my family here, you know what? I would spend half of my time with you and half of my time with my family. You know what I mean? I don't have anybody else. So when and I'm not trying to make you feel bad, Simon, but it hurts my feelings when you say the things to me.
All I'm saying is, if I ask for that, I'm just giving you warning so that you don't think I'm starting a fight or I'm saying anything that I never told you about before. That's all I'm saying, babe. Okay? And yes, you.
I just don't want you to spend half the time without, like, completely without me, because you know what? Think about this. When I'm not with you, I am by myself. I don't talk. I don't speak. I'm by myself.
So cute. I love you.
But it's the truth.
I love you so much.
You know how much I've been missing my mother? Like, I want to see her so bad. I wish she was here. I would hang out with her all the time.
I know, Papa. I know. We're going to fix
and then
it up
it'd be fine.
As soon as you can get your thing, we can send you, and, we can eventually bring her here. Like, just hang on, Papa.
Maybe if I go home for a couple of months, maybe you'll appreciate me more.
Shut up.
I'm serious. Maybe you'll want to hang out with me more. I'm serious.
Papa, we hang out all the time. Don't do that. We hang out all the time, okay?
On the morning of July 30th, 2011, Lisa woke up early, fully dressed herself, and gathered her documents and essentials into her purse. She locked herself in the bathroom and made a final call to her mother, warning her that if anything were to happen to her, Simon should be blamed. Lisa aimed to quietly slip out of the apartment while her fiancé was still sleeping, but her attempt was unsuccessful. Neighbors reported hearing a scream in the hallway that suddenly stopped. The screams stopped because Simon forcefully covered Lisa's face to prevent the neighbors from hearing. And then people below the building saw a woman fall from a 15th floor balcony, dying on impact. On the street below, several people heard the scream and saw her fall, but it all happened too fast for them to comprehend what was happening. A man walking his dog nearby, who was closest to the scene, heard a loud noise and looked up to see a man on the balcony holding something large before he threw it down. When people reached the spot where she fell, they found the young woman on the ground. Despite trying to help, she was already dead from her injuries. 3 minutes later, Simon, still in his pajamas, rushed out into the street in tears, claiming he hadn't reached his fiancée in time and expressing uncertainty about his future without her. Initially, it looked like an accident, but Simon soon asserted that his fiancée had taken her own life. However, a note in his pocket and a troubling video indicated a different story. In the pocket of the deceased, pieces of a note were found, torn into small bits. The note suggested that cameras were installed throughout the apartment. Lisa had ripped up the note, worried that Simon might discover it. Surveillance video from the apartment building's communal hallway showed Lisa running out of the apartment, screaming for help. The footage then captured her fiancé quickly catching up to her, covering her mouth and forcefully pulling her back inside. This alarming scene took place just a minute before she tragically fell from the balcony. On Simon's laptop, investigators found recordings of a conversation he had with Lisa the night before the tragedy, along with spyware he used to track her. Simon claimed they had argued that morning, and Lisa became so upset that she ran out screaming. He said he pulled her back inside to avoid attracting attention, then went to call her mother while Lisa ran to the balcony and jumped. He also mentioned that she had previously threatened to end her life, although he never took those threats seriously, explaining he installed the spy software due to concerns for her safety. Simon attempted to exonerate himself with a series of lies, crafting a narrative that would clear him of any wrongdoing. During the trial, Simon was seen with his new partner, 22-year-old model Rachel Louise, who looked remarkably similar to his late fiancé. It was later implied that she was using the high-profile case to gain media attention, often telling reporters that Simon was not violent. Simon's defense team claimed that Lisa suffered from a mental disorder and was prone to emotional outbursts, suggesting that her death was a suicide. They also argued that Simon, due to his smaller stature and lesser physical strength, could not have thrown Lisa from the balcony. This claim was disputed by Simon's gym trainer, who testified about Simon's significant strength. The court also noted the lack of Lisa's fingerprints on the balcony railing, which suggested she did not jump on her own accord. The testimony of the physiotherapist was pivotal. She disclosed her discussions with Lisa about escaping Simon's oppressive behavior. Consequently, Simon was convicted of murder and sentenced to 26 years in prison, with the possibility of parole after 18 years. After the verdict, Rachel Louise created a disturbance in the courtroom and was escorted out. All attempts by Simon and his lawyers to appeal the decision were rejected, and the conviction remained in place. Later, Rachel ended her relationship with Simon, mentioning the challenges of maintaining it while he was incarcerated, though she continued to claim his innocence. Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe for more mind-bending true crime stories.